Uh, Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to the Words of Wisdom series. Today is the second day of this series and this will continue for 16 days. So today our speaker is Kavita Moore ma'am, and the topic is how to ace interview. She is the HR of Total Sports and Fitness Solution Private Limited. So I would like to hand over to ma'am to continue this further. So over to you ma'am.
Hi, how are you? Let me introduce a bit about myself. As you know, my name is Kavita More, and I work for the organization named Total Sports and Fitness. So, I have this 10 years of vast experience in the chosen field of HR. I have done my post graduation into human resources, and about my hobbies, like I really love to read, write. I like to listen to people's problem and come up with the best possible solutions for them. I like to help them. So this was about me. So get started about the program which we are going to do today. So it is basically about the interview. So many a times while taking the interviews, basically for the people who are just college parts out or the freshers, so they are like they really don't know what answers they need to tell, or like what questions are being expected, and how they need to prepare themselves for the interview. So most of the time these youngsters, they are lost. So I had come up with a certain program wherein, like, it will help you to be prepared for the interview, or how they can prepare themselves for the interview. So guys, let's get started. I'm sharing my screen. So, for preparation of interview, I have divided this session into three parts. So, first will be how we are going to prepare ourselves for the interview prior to the interview. Second will be what we are expected and what we need to do during the interview. And third is what we are going to do after the interview. So, the first part for you're preparing for the interview is a resume presentation, because whenever you apply for certain organization or certain job role, so first thing which comes is your resume. So it has to be very precise and very neatly drafted without any spelling mistakes, because like whenever the interviewer or the people who are going to shortlist the resumes, they are going to see each and every single word in your resume. So this is something, as per my experience, I have dotted down few points which will help you. So first thing is, like, your resume should be very short and simple. Maximum it should be of 2 or 3 pages, not more than that, because if you keep on explaining more things, so it becomes a booklet, and the interviewer gets really very tired or frustrated in reading 4 to 5 pages of your resume. So it has to be very sweet, simple, and easy to understand. So another point which we I came up with is, like, we don't need, as an interviewer, we don't want, like, what is your age. We are not concerned about your religion or sex. Like, we live in a very secular country. So I am going to expect is, like, the candidate, what profile he was working, what is like roles and responsibility he was handling, and as per that I'm going to shortlist the candidate, not depending on his age, religion, or sex. Other point which I had come up is, like, using bulleting points. Like, if you highlight or like use bullet points in your resume wherein your roles and responsibility has been mentioned, so it gives a clear idea for the interviewer or the person who is going to shortlist your resume, indicating like what roles and responsibilities you have handled. And using bulleting points, you need to have a certain order. For example, if you are mentioning about your current work experience, so the first comes is, like, the current experience or the current organization you are working, and then it follows. Apart from that, it, like, which I covered the point, like, it has to be in a reverse chronological order. So this was like your resume presentation. Then and it has to be like, the resume presentation also includes your educational details or the qualifications you you have done. For example, if you are a MBA student or you have passed out your MBA, so first will come your MBA and then follows your graduation, your 12th and your 10th. So this has to be covered. Apart from that, you can also mention your hobbies and your interests, but let's keep that very short and simple. For example, if I tell about myself, so I am basically, I really like to read and to write and to like make new friends. So basically I'll keep it very short and simple instead of explaining it. And whatever, and this is the very very most important point in your resume which you need to keep in mind, is like put information which is true and which you are able to answer. Basically it has to be true what you have done in terms of your education, in terms of your hobbies, in terms of your work experience, in terms of anything whatever you put in your resume, please put all the informations too. Because most means during interviews, whenever they take the interviews, so they are going to read and they are going to question depending on interviews on your resume. Okay, because I have like I'll give you one example. When I was taking the interview, when there was one candidate who had come for an interview, so that person was, he was something around like he has done 12th or something like that. So when I was taking his interview, so I came across a point wherein he has mentioned that he has done so and so things into his education and your extra additional information. So when I started questioning him about those things, so he was not able to like understand, and he was not able to come up with the suitable answers. So after the end of the interview, he mentioned it like I have not done or any of these things. My friend had prepared this resume and he had given me, so I really don't know what was there in whatever he has mentioned. So that is something creates a negative point while when the interview on the interviewer. So next comes is like how you need to present your resume. So first and foremost comes your name, your contact number, your email ID, and your address also. So apart from that, you need to mention your career objective, like what you want to do in your life, or whatever field you have chosen. So mention what is your career objective. Then please focus on your skills, because skills is something like for example, if I tell you, if I am going to take an interview and I have a certain position available in my organization, so if anybody has mentioned their skills, so I will match his skills and what is my skill requirement for the skill. So I'll match and I will shortlist that candidate whose skills are matching with the profile which I'm looking out for. Then after that comes your educational information, then your work experience, and then the general informations like the date of birth, your hobbies, then your marital status and everything. So all these things comes at the later part, at the end of the resume. So this is how your resume has to be presented. So this is how we are going to prepare ourselves prior to the interview. So now comes the job description part. For example, let's assume you are going through Naukri.com, or like someone from the consultancy or someone from the certain organization has called you and they are like talking to you about the about the profile which they can offer you. So they will give you the job description. So ask them to send you the job description via mail, or if available on any social site wherein like professional site wherein you can if you want to apply, so go through your job description very thoroughly. Because when you go through your job description, so you are able to understand what you are looking out for the job, what is expected in that profile. So this you need to be very very precise about what which company you're about, what job you are applying for. So this is what you need to do while going through the job descriptions. So next part comes is the company profile. So for example, you are applying for certain XYZ company. So what you are going to do is like you are going to find out about the company means you will be having the name of that organization. So you need to go on that company's on the organization's website and see what that organization is basically into, because this helps you in the interview when you go to face interview. So you are going to research about the company, what company is into. The second part comes is like taking down certain points which are going to help you when you give your personal face-to-face interviews, because during the interview certain questions are asked about the company profiles and product. For example, during the interview the HR is going to ask you about, have you been through our company website, have you seen what are products we have. So the reason behind asking this question is like the interviewer wants to understand or wants to find out like what research or what preparation the candidate has done for this interview. For example, when you say yes, I have been through your website and these are the things which you are dealing into, so the interviewer is also impressed by thinking like yes, the candidate has prepared themselves and come for the interview. So let's go through the company website, let's understand what is the company profile and the products, and then note down few certain pointers which you will be able to remember while giving the interview. Then there are certain organizations wherein wherein their websites are very, like little complex. So what you can do is like is understand those certain products, certain things from that website which you are able to remember, and then you can ask the interviewer during the interview when they ask you this question, have you been through your company website? So you can say yes, I have been through your company website, these are certain products or these are certain things which I understood. Apart from that, I was not able to understand exactly what is the company into. So then the interviewer will explain you what that organization is basically into. So do your research of the company and go for the interview. So now what we are going to do is that during the interview, when you apply for the job, everything is going smoothly, and then you get a call for the interview to come for a personal face-to-face round of interview. So first thing which comes is your time management. Time management, because it shows like how dedicated and how responsible you are for coming for the interview. For example, if suppose your interview is at 10 a.m. in the morning, and just imagine you reach the interview at 10:15. So can you imagine what impression you are going to put on the interviewer by being 15 minutes late? So it is always advisable to reach interview 30 minutes before or 45 minutes before. If you are staying say around 30 minutes from your interview destination and your home, you know it is going to take 30 minutes. So instead of going at 9:30, I would suggest you people leave at 9 o'clock, so that at least you have 30 minutes a buffer in your hand to prepare yourself for the interview. And then for example, suppose let's assume you're going for an interview and it suddenly starts raining. So can you just imagine what kind of an image you're going to put on that interviewer? So it is always advisable to go reach before 30 minutes so that you can prepare yourself, then you can calm yourself, then you can go through your resumes, check and recheck your resume. If any points are missing, then you can mock your interview by yourself only. So this is why the time management is very very important during the interview. The next part comes is your grooming. So always wear formal, clean and iron clothes for the interview. Don't wear crumble kind of a clothes or an casual clothes for the interview, because interviews are basically very very professional. So whenever an interviewer interviews and sees, like for example, you have come in casual, so can you imagine what kind of an impression we are going to put on the interview? So it is always advisable to wear casual formal clothes for the interview. Avoid using strong perfumes, because certain people are very sensitive to certain smells or fragrances, because some people may not be very comfortable with the strong perfumes which other people use. So it is advisable to use light kind of a perfume or a spray. Then your hair should be means well shampooed or and well combed. Don't go with oily hairs. I know it is really funny by saying this, because like for example, if you oil your hair and you go for the interview, or if you want to apply oil, so apply it on a very minimum level, so that it doesn't come down on your face or it doesn't look very gaudy. For females, basically don't use loud makeup and go for the interview. So basically use very light kind of a makeup, like the kajal and the lipsticks and all that. So and during the interview, what you can do is like you will be taking a hard copy of your resume. So I would suggest take certain kind of a professional L-sized folders along with you, because your resume also will be very neat and clean, instead of that putting your resume in front of that, like a folded resume. It doesn't create a very good impression on the interviewer. So and keep your phone switched off, because many a times I have seen while taking the interview, I have seen people, they have getting the call, so like the music is also loud, so it is the disturbance during the interview, so it irritates the interviewer also, and the candidate also loses his focus. So let's not switch on the mobile, or if you want to switch on the mobile, so just keep it on a silent mode. Now, the main and the major thing during the interview which you really need to keep in mind is the etiquettes during the interview. So whenever you go through the interview and whenever you enter the cabin or the interview place, so first impression is always going to be the last impression. Interviewer is going to judge you in the first 5 minutes of your interview, because once he sees, like for example, if candidate is coming through and through the door, if he is confident, then the confident like the interviewer also likes the people who are very confident. It makes the interview very interesting, and we also love people taking interviews who are very much confident and easy to take the interviews. So always remember, first impression is the last impression. Whenever you enter the interview room, put a small smile on your interview. Then whenever when you come in front of the interviewer, so shake hands with them. Be confident, don't come with a slaggy or kind of a shoulders, or like clothes which are very scrambled or not that clean. I know people are very well educated and they come for the interview very well prepared, but just in case, because I have seen or I have taken some interviews which are which I was really not very keen in taking the interviews also. So when I say, like the interviewer judges you in the first 5 minutes of your interview, so depending on that first 5 minutes, they are going to they'll decide whether they want to take your interviews for 5 minutes or whether they want to take your interviews for the 50 minutes. So it depends on how you are going to present yourself in front of the interviewer. Second comes the body language, and body language is just when, like when you're sitting in the interview and you're sitting across the table in front of the interviewer, so if you keep on shaking your hands a lot, so it shows your nervousness. So interviewer comes to know that you are nervous, and when you are nervous, you are not able to give answers which are up to the mark or what the interviewer is expecting. So don't be nervous while giving the interview. Then there are certain people who sit on the chair in a very relaxed manner. So the relaxed manner show the position when you are very relaxed, so it shows that you are not very confident, or like you're a laid back kind of a person, so wherein the interviewer is not going to like that. So then he will ask you either to sit properly or leave the room. So let's focus on our body language. I would advise, like you need to sit straight, but don't sit that much straight wherein you are very stiff. So sit straight but with a relaxed kind of a posture, and wherein you will be able to coordinate, or wherein we will be able to focus on the interviewer, and also what would I say, like you are very relaxed, and then you will be easily able to answer whatever the questions has been asked in the interview. Then next comes the meet and greet section. So meet and greet is whenever you come to in the interview room. So wish the interviewer good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time is scheduled for the interview. So whenever he asks you to, he is going to definitely ask you to have a seat. So once you take a seat, tell them thank you. And once the your interview is over, so while leaving the interview, you can say like this is thank you for giving this opportunity for being interviewed. So let's have this kind of a greetings to them, so it makes the interviewer happy also. And they also very pleased to see a person who is really very full of energy and very positive while taking the interviews. Table manners is then comes the table manners. Table manners is like which I mentioned, like you need to come to the interview, then greet the interviewer, put a small smile on your faces, and be confident. Don't slack, don't fumble. If you are a fumbling, and if for example, let me tell you one example. Once I was taking an interview, and I was taking this interview into English. So communication was not something which I was focusing on. I really wanted a candidate who would be able to do my work. So the communication was not that important. So I started this interview with English, but the candidate came up with an answer saying that, ma'am, I really don't know English. I can understand English, but I'm not able to speak in English. So can we take this interview in Hindi? So I told yes, okay. So I don't mind taking your interview in Hindi. So then this interview started. So this interview started in Hindi, and I really liked that candidate, and I selected him for my organization. So you can keep all these things in mind. So communication is not a barrier. So don't get nervous in the interview that you are not able to speak in the interview in English or in the language what is expected. So you can stay like at least you can try. So trying, like interviewer always wants candidate to try. So they really like people who are trying and giving the interviews. Okay, so next comes is the market knowledge. So market knowledge is something wherein you are going for the organizations for which you are going for an interview. So you need to do is like find the what are the products of that company, what are the performance in the market. Then apart from that, you can also come up with what are the competitors of the organization, and what are the market demands of that product and that company. Because whenever you go for the interview, when you speak to the interview, so this point helps you in speaking to the interviewer, and interviewer also comes to know yes, this candidate has studied or done research about the company. So they are really very impressed on you, and then it increases your chances of getting selected. Stability. Stability is something which the interviewer focuses a lot. For example, if I am going to hire a candidate, so I will first see like what are like which organizations he has worked, and what are like how many years of experience he is coming with, and in how many time he has stayed in certain organization. For example, there are two candidates in front of me who are really equivalent to each other. Like they are focused, they are smart. Whatever I want from the candidates, they both are able to give me that. So I really like this both the candidates. But one candidate comes with an experience, or not about the experience, one candidate comes with the one with the stability, and one with the quick jumps. So stability is something like you spend minimum 2 years in an organization, and maximum you can spend whatever you want, like maximum I can say 5 years, 6 years. So minimum to maximum five. So I have one resume who has worked in any organization more than 2 years or 3 years. So this is what it gives the stability. It gives the stability. Another resume is front of me is person who is really very very educated, very highly skilled and everything. But I can see in his resume that he has worked in organization for 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 year. So I will definitely go for the candidate who has shown me the stability, who has worked in organizations more than 2 years, 3 years like that. So I will I will get an impression like yes, this candidate is giving me the stability, and that candidate is grounded. So he will stick in the organization for longer period because no organization wants to hire the candidate who has a quick jump in their resume, because it shows like I am going to invest my time in training you and in making you a structure which I require, and then you are going to live in that period, then it is like waste of my time also, my organization's time, and the people who are going to train you for that. So let's avoid quick jump and let's move to the stability in our resume. Now the confidence part. The You need to possess a right kind of an attitude. For example, if you have a very right kind of an attitude, so you will overcome your nervousness. Maybe you will be nervous, but your confidence, whenever you have that kind of an confidence, so your nervousness will be subsided. Then and a proper confidence shows that you have a you have a proper knowledge, and you come with certain kind of experience. Then overconfident, some candidates they do have overconfidence, so let's avoid being overconfident in the interview. So it shows that you are very arrogant kind of a candidate, and no organization wants to hire arrogant people. Then your attitude should be right. Suppose in the interviewer says something to you which you don't know, so you should be ready to accept, yes, I don't know. And if you know and he gives you extra knowledge about certain topic, so you need to welcome those. So always have a proper and right kind of an attitude. Then maintain a small smile on your face, maintain eye contact while giving the interview, because whenever you don't maintain eye contact with the interviewer, it shows your lack of confidence. So let's have a small portion of smiles, because when you smile, it is always say you smile, the other people automatically smile back to you. So don't have a big smile also, have a small and proper portion of your smile on your face. It improves your face value also. Communication. So during the interview, don't use any kind of abbreviations or words like yeah or yeah, etc., and all that. Instead of it use positive words like okay, thank you sir, all right sir, no problem sir, like that. This kind of an words you can use for the interview. So now comes the major part wherein most people ask me like, if I am nervous in the interview, what do I do about it? So first is like it is really very obvious sign to be nervous in the interview. It shows that like yes, we as a human get nervous. So what you can do is like before entering the interview, do breathing exercise. Take deep breaths, inhale and exhale. Do it in like 5 to 10 times before the interview, so that it helps relax your body. And when your body relaxes, your nervousness also reduces to the minimum level. Apart from that, you can say this mantra: I can do it, I will do it, and I am the best. When you keep on saying this, your body subconsciously reacts to this things, and then whenever you give the interview, you be confident and you give the interview. And which like in the earlier slides which I have suggested, like in the time management, reach the interview prior to the time which is given to you, so it helps you to relax, it helps you to prepare. And once you are prepared, you give the right kind of attitude, your confidence also falls in place, and then it overcomes your nervousness. So there are certain points which we need to remember during preparing ourselves for the interview. First is, for example, this is for the people who are experienced. So many a times, like if you're not happy with the organization you're working with, or your job role, so never ever say anything negative about your organization. Because if you say like my organization is not up to my mark or anything like that, so the interviewer thinks like if this person is saying negative things about his current organization. So what is the guarantee this guy person is not going to say negative about my organization? So it is straight away no from us to the candidates who say negative about their current organization. If there are, if certain things which is not working out in your current organization, so it's better to come up with certain things why you want to go want to get shortlisted for this interview, or why are you looking for a job change. For example, you can say is like the growth in terms of learning, you are not able to learn a lot now, or like now your job is been stable, so you're not able to learn new things. So come up with certain answers wherein like those are acceptable by the interviewer, or which is like you feel which will not have a negative impact of you on the interviewer. Then comes the point where it like whenever you give any kind of answer, so it is always advisable to be very precise what you give for whatever what answers you see, answers you say. So for that, I mentioned like you need to have a knowledge, you need to do your research before the interview, and you need to do a proper job understanding about what role you are applying. So depending on all these things, you are very precise, and you are very uh, confident and giving the precise answers. Then never ever we speak any kind of untrue informations in the interview. For example, if during your work experience you have mentioned I have done certain kind of job roles, and in reality or in fact you have not done all this in all these things. So interviewer, they have a sixth sense, or like they have an experience in taking the interviews. So they come to know whenever the candidate is lying, so they really catch up on this, on those things. So they will keep on questioning, cross questioning, they will re-question you, and they will see what kind of an answer you give. So they'll come to know like you are being lying. So that is straight away no from us, and then the like very and quick chances of you getting rejected, or not getting shortlisted in that interview. So don't say anything wrong which you have not done or you don't know about it. So don't say wrong. Let's stick to true information in the resume. Whatever you have mentioned in that, let's stick to that only. Don't over exaggerate anything. Like interviewers don't like people who really do exaggeration of certain things which they have done, but they are exaggerating it so much that it is not that up to the mark. So don't exaggerate things. If there are certain questions which has been asked in the interview which you may not come up on the spot on the interview, so what you can do is like you can take pauses in the pauses while giving the answers. For example, if anybody asks you explain a certain color to a blind person, so I know people are not prepared to certain kind of an questions which are asked in the interview. So if you don't know how to answer, so you can take a permission of the interviewer saying that sir or madam, can you give me just 1 second, I'll just think about this answer and I'll come up with an answer. So you when you think about it, and when you have a very cool or calm kind of a composure, so your mind also works through it, and it come up with the answer, and you come up with the answer. So take pauses when you are not sure about what answers you are going to give, or you don't know what question it is. So take pauses while taking while giving the answers if required. Instead of not giving answers or not coming up with anything, it's better to take pause and come up with something, and something for that other question. Okay, so the most and famous question which most interviewer ask is like, tell me something about yourself. This is the first question which interviewer is going to ask when you come for the interview, or come into the interview room. So first question is asked is, tell me something about your interview. So here everything is mentioned in your resume, from your name, from your address, from your educational details, from your work experience, everything is mentioned in those details. So we can read it, but we want to see how that candidate portrays himself in front of us. So These are few points which I have come up on my experience. Like this is the way you can answer your this question. So you can say your name, your education, and start from the latest education. Then your education, your work experience has to be also latest one. Then who are there in your family members, what are your hobbies, then what are your likes and dislikes, and tell them something about yourself which is not in your resume. Everything is captured in your resume, but tell them something which is not in your resume. So they preferably want to know what you are, not what is always written in your resume. For example, suppose you for example, let's say, like, if you like to help people, okay, so this is something you are not going to put in as your hobby, that I like to help people. So you can tell, like, I am that kind of a person who likes to listens to people's problem, then I like to help them, I like to go all the way to help them. So something like that, which is not mentioned in your resume, something like that, what you basically are, so you can tell them about that. So you can also include your career goals while answering these questions, because I have seen from my personal experience, whenever this question is asked, most people just give one or two liners of this question. So you people are not just one or two liners, or we, whenever we give the interview, we are not one or two liners. So it is more than that. So try and give more than what is there in your resume. So now what we will do in post interview is, like, you will wait for 2 days for the interview. After your interview is done, so if you have an email id or if you have a contact number, so you can contact them, call them, and ask them, like, what is the result of the interview, or whether it is yes or whether it is no. If it is yes, you get a call immediately, and if it is no, so what you can do is, you can ask them humbly, can you explain, can you just give me an answer, or can you just tell me why I was not shortlisted for this interview, so that I can help, I can uh, that I can help myself in coming up with not this. So if you are not shortlisted, so you can ask for the feedback in the from the interviewer, that why you are not selected, and if they tell you that feedback, then you can try and improve yourself or work on yourself for those points which the interviewer has told. So one day will come such wherein, like, you will be very well groomed, very well been educated, very well be on that point wherein, like, you don't lack on certain things. So this you can ask for the interviewer after the interview is done, so they can give you an honest, and interviewer always gives a honest feedback, where because of certain points you are not been selected, they will give you an honest feedback. So this was like how you are going to prepare yourself for the interview. So if you have any kind of queries, if you have any kind of questions, you can ask me on LinkedIn. This is my email ID. So I would be really happy to help you overcome your overcome your nervousness on the interviews, or any kind of problems you face while giving the interviews. So I'll be very much happy to help you in overcoming those points. So thank you very much.
So thank you guys for attending this session, and once again thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge and experience with the Code Warriors community. So as everyone is going to face the interview not today but definitely in future, so this will help them a lot. So before concluding this session, our moderators are there. They will share the link in the chat box, live chat box. So give your feedback, and you can fill up the form for certificate, and the link is also available in the description. And if you are having any query, you can ask in the chat box. So here is a question.
Is company asked about your final year project if you join as a fresher? So, answering this question, uh, they will ask you about certain projects which you have done in your educational times, but they are not going to ask you to submit your projects in the while joining the organization. So it has nothing to do what the job description they want, or like they want from the candidate or the project. So project is something to it is totally into your college. So in short, if I tell you, like the interviewers never ask you to submit your project, so they will discuss or they will question you about your projects in the interview, so that they are checking your knowledge, what knowledge you have, or what kind of study you have done. So they will ask you certain questions which are related to your projects, but not ask you to submit your projects in the organization. Okay, ma'am, let's suppose. So the next question is, ma'am, let's suppose if more than two or three persons are taking the interview, do you need to do it multiple time or just once? So it is very simple. See, it is really very very simple. Like you cannot uh, just like greet every is two or three people. So it is very simple. You just need to greet them uh, like all together, like good morning everyone, saying this good morning everyone, or good evening everyone, good afternoon everyone. So it is at like you can wish them like this. Can I mention my internship and online internship details in my experience, ma'am? Of course. So internships and all, see, you need to mention each and every work experience you have done. For example, you have done your internship or you have done your projects also. Please do mention those into your resume, because it helps in getting chances of getting shortlisted. So internship, see, at the end of the day, whether you do 2 months internship, whether you do 1 month internship, or whether you do 3 months internship, it is something you are getting some kind of experience through that internship. So it helps you and helps the interviewer also to see what kind of work you have done during your internship. So it is always advisable to put all those details, whether it is online, whether it is offline. I am a fresher. What experience can I mention? So it is very simple. Freshers don't come up with experience, and the interviewers also know that they don't have experience. So what you can do is, during the interview, you can speak about your projects. You can speak about what you want to do or where you want to pursue your career into. See, for example, if you are a say and commerce graduate, okay, or like or an arts graduate, let's take this example, an arts graduate, and you are applying for an accounts profile. So see, there will be people, there are people in fact who are from art, and they have joined college, they have been accountant, but for that you need to have additional experiences or additional courses which helps you to gain that profile. So a art student can apply for a commerce job, but for that he needs to have additional kind of skills, additional kind of an certifications or experience, wherein he will get shortlisted for that kind of a profile. So yes, do mention whatever, means like for the freshers I would say, like talk about your experiences, talk about the what you have learned in your course or whatever you have learned in your education. And the interviewer also, they will ask you questions, and then you need to answer them, because we as an interviewer know that freshers, they don't come out of the experience. So we will ask you those questions which freshers will be able to understand, and freshers will be able to Tell, for example, if suppose you are a fresher, you are going for a sales interview, so we know that you don't come up with the experience, but we will check this, but we will check what kind of an study you have done or research you have done. For example, we will ask you question related to sales, like, what is the difference between sales and marketing, what is your understanding about the sales. So this helps them to understand, yes, this candidate is not experienced, but he has a certain kind of a knowledge regarding that subject. Suppose if I'm having a big gap here, how to answer to this interview? See, it is perfectly fine to have gaps in the year. See, it can be your personal reason or certain situation or circumstances, because of that you have taken that gap. So it doesn't have that huge impact on that interview. So which is okay. As per me, it is okay if you take a gap in the if it has a gap in the your academic year. So if the interviewer asks you why did you take a gap, so you need to be very honest. See, there are certain things which you cannot disclose in the interview, so you can tell them that there were certain personal reasons, because of that I have taken a gap, but I am really not comfortable in sharing those things in the interview, because everyone understand there are few personal questions which you are not comfortable in answering those, so which is okay. Is not post certification help in interviews? So, ma'am, are you all certificates help or only top rated organization certificates? Okay, so see, certification is certification at the end of the day. See, it can be like, a normal certification course, or like, high rated certificates also. That doesn't matter. See, what matters is what kind of education you have done, what kind of certification you have done. For example, let's see, you are going for an or going for a job interview, and for say a sales profile or a marketing profile. So marketing person doesn't require any kind of certification. See, nowadays we know, like, people come up, people are very well versed, come with computers and all that. In earlier days, prior to in 1990s or some 1990s, so they used to ask you about the certifications about the computers, whether you have done your computer course or not. So nowadays it doesn't matter from which institute you have done your certification. Only certification helps you uh, getting more, like, chances, getting chances of getting selected. It increases your higher chances of getting shortlisted for the profile which you are applying for. Okay, so
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am, for solving the doubts of the students. So, as
yes.
students, you have to compulsory fill. You have to fill the feedback form compulsory, and which link has been already passed in the chat box. It is there in the description. So, thank you very much.